Hi gang, Rob here. This is the evening of 7 May 2017, Sunday evening. Coming to you tonight with a video. It's a shop tour of Lon Humphrey custom knives. If you've been watching the channel over the last couple days, you saw sort of a teaser video, I think on Friday, a little Area 51 spoof. That is Lon's chosen code name, nickname for his knife shop. And then yesterday on Saturday, the 6th of May, I posted about a half an hour long interview with Lon, kind of going through his progression as a knife maker, his vision for the future, and then somewhere along the line he mentioned the Lon Humphrey Brute Hunter, his signature knife in the Brute de Forge style that sort of made him famous. And in this video, the shop tour video, we're going to follow a Brute Hunter from raw 1095 bar all the way through to finished knife. And I'm also going to give you a sneak peek at a knife coming up for review on the channel, the latest production model from Lon Humphrey Custom Knives. It's called the Reaver, which is a large camp knife. I just happened to have brought one home with me, so stay tuned for that. But now, let's get into the shop tour of Lon Humphrey Custom Knives, and you can see how your precious babies of your collection or your hard users from Lon Humphrey are made, and it's pretty cool. So enjoy, my friends.
Today we're gonna forge one of my Brute Hunters from start to finish, and we'll go all the way through the process of forging, grinding, and finishing.
That's awesome. So right now we're sort of waiting on the forge to heat up, and we were talking a little bit about this very compact but efficient forge. It's called a Venturi forge, right?
Yeah, it's called a Venturi type forge. The high pressure gas comes out of the orifice, and because it's a high pressure discharge, higher pressure than atmospheric, it sucks it in through that bell and creates a hot flame.
And because that high pressure gas is pulling all that air through a smaller orifice, then you get a lot of pressure. I mean, you can hear it, and you can actually see it coming out the front of the forge, so no blower required.
Right.
So we've got Brute blanks in the forge, heating up, getting ready to get hammered.
Yeah. That's what they start out as.
So that's a piece of hot rolled 1095.
Yep.
1/4 inch thick. That chunk of steel is going to make the knife that put Lon Humphrey knives on the map.
And help me build the shop.
And help you build the shop.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the Brute.
This is the Brute Hunter.
Which is what, about a 5-inch broad clip point blade?
Yeah, it can be clip point, it can be drop point, it can be spear point, it can be buoy, just about whatever I want them to come out.
Each one's different.
Yeah, each one's a little different.
Alright, we're going to get these heated up and commence the hammering. Just watching was forming the basic shape of the handle.
Right. That's the first step to get this.
Right. Then the next step would be tapering it?
Right. And I'll draw that out and make it longer. And then that will taper. That'll put a taper in the tang.
Okay, now we're moving on to the second step, which is to draw out and taper the tang. So the crown side of that anvil, just kind of squeeze it and pull it out.
Right. It's got two different sides on it. It's a combination die. Draw. This is a drawing side, and that's the flat side.
And the flat side, use that to taper it after you draw it out, right?
No, well, I do both.
Both?
I taper over here, but what I'm doing on the flat is taking all the hammer marks out of it.
Gotcha.
Trying to get it as smooth as I can.
So you've reheated a little bit and then
Right.
finished up what you started there.
Yeah, then I try to get as many of them out as I can, because that's where the wood has got to meet up, and it's got to be super flat and super clean.
So do you finish grind the tang before you mount the wood? Okay.
I finished grind twice, about 3 times really.
But the object of that forging process, though, one of the objects would be to as little time on the grinder as possible, so you want to get it close.
Right.
So now we've got that finished forging going to the surface grinder for.
Right. Now I'll take the rest of these hammer marks out that I didn't get out when I was under the flatter,
Gotcha.
under the flat part of the hammer.
Let's see.
I call this my hillbilly sign table, because if you look, this magnet is set up at an angle. I've got a medium-sized bastard file
You sure do.
under there to get an angle, and then I ground a shim to lay underneath the knife blade to support the tang as I'm grinding it. So it's not an exact science, but it's pretty close.
How many degrees of taper is
I
it?
have no idea.
A couple.
A couple. No idea. It's all guesswork. That's close enough for what we're doing. Now we're going to put the guard in.
Oh, gotcha. So heating it up with a hand torch?
Yes. We have
kind of progressed in our production methods from where we were when I built the shop, because of the amount of knives that I did by hand. I've worn my shoulder out or my elbow out, so I try to use as many power tools as I can.
I hear you.
I got to turn the bottle on.
Well, there's Mrs. Humphrey. Morning, Cassie.
Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing good.
Are you excited for another fun-filled day of knife making?
Yes.
Of course.
Sometimes it's fun.
Sometimes.
I get to play in fire.
So we're getting ready to do one of the most recognizable features of a Lon Humphrey brute de forge style knife. That beautiful sort of trigger shoe guard that comes on many of his knives. Cassie's putting the heat to it, and here comes Lon. That's another shot.
Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, generally it takes about 2 heats to get it where we want it. Some might say that's cheating,
Why would they say that?
because I'm not hitting it with a hammer.
Yes,
But-
you are.
But my elbow says I can't hit it with a hammer anymore. But the one thing that I have kind of figured out is if you want to be a blacksmith, be a blacksmith. If you want to be a knife maker, you have to figure out how to do it faster.
Right.
And that was pretty quick.
It was pretty quick.
So now we get back to the forge.
So we're heating the forge back up. This is going to be the pointing process.
Right, now's when I'll draw the point.
So at what point do you decide what blade profile we're going to have?
When I get over there to the hammer.
Okay. So
Really, they just kind of come out, and I try not to do, if I see myself doing a lot of drop points, then I'll switch it up to a clip or something. Just so I try to make them all different, you know.
So you've got like this intuitive randomness built into your forging process,
Right,
which I think your collectors appreciate.
right. Yeah, that just kind of keeps everything fresh, you know.
Yeah.
Every batch, I'm hoping that people will buy one even if they've already got one because, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of evil when you think
It
about
is
it.
kind of,
I mean, there are certain collectors who just can't stop.
right.
Yeah.
I understand that. But, you know, supposedly you can quit at any time.
That's what the button says.
That's what the button does say. Yeah, up. I try to keep that tang as cold as I can.
You don't
That
want,
way I'm not having to go back in and try to straighten it out.
right.
Even though that happens anyway, but it just eliminates a lot.
gotta grind that off.
Switched over to the 150 ton press.
Yeah. This is where I start drawing the bevels.
A lot of guys who might be new to knives are probably looking at this footage going, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just take a piece of bar as long as you need and saw it and grind it to the size you want?
That's a pretty good question.
It is a good, I mean, it's a good question.
You know, it's just, part of it is the cool factor, part of it is, you know, getting to play with a piece of steel that's that hot, making it move. You know, taking an immovable object and making it pliable and plastic. Yeah, that's cool.
So that's the knife that you tapered the bevel on the press, then you just came back and cleaned it up, flattened it out.
And I took all those hammer marks out of it. And you can see that bird's beak is going back in there. And I have to grind that out or else it'll crack.
Because you can see it starting to split.
Yep. That's where that front end folded over, and they call that a bird's mouth because it looks like a bird's mouth.
Right. Thus the name.
Right.
Right.
Back to the question is why. I don't use nearly as much steel when I make these as I do if I do a stock removal piece.
Right.
So it's a little bit more efficient. And when you forge something, it does inherently make it a stronger blade with these old steels. And I say old because 1095 is just a simple carbon steel. It's not a powder metal or a crucible made steel. It's literally just poured and rolled.
Okay guys, here comes the most important part of the process. This is when the maker's mark goes in.
Try to get it as straight as I can now. And that's it.
And that's it. That knife is ready for the grinder.
Now it's ready to grind.
Okay guys, you're looking at a finished forged blade, and we were talking a minute ago about why forging instead of stock removal. We're going to kind of finish that answer and try to bring it home. And we're going to talk about a couple aspects of the heat treatment process that most of us knife collectors and users don't think about or care to. So prepare to be bored. And the three of you eggheads that are watching this and want to know, pay attention. So what we're going to do before we grind is we're going to normalize this finished forging. So explain what that is, Lon.
Okay, normalizing brings the grain structure inside the steel back to an even more homogeneous state. When you forge this stuff, you're forging at a temperature that is above critical, and that in itself makes the grains bigger.
Right. So you're way over austenizing temperature.
Right.
Every molecule in there is moving around, and then
Right.
you're beating it around. And
Right, and that's what makes it possible to forge the steel.
Right.
Is the molecules are further apart. Everything is moving around in there. That's what makes the steel plastic. But because of that, the grains get big.
right.
So you have to bring them back down to as small as you possibly can size.
So even though you've radically changed the shape and size of this piece of steel, after you normalize it, the microstructure is going to be like it was when it started out as that piece of bar.
Right. So we do that by putting heat in it and cooling it off. And that takes a lot of time. Now, after it's normalized and everything is back to normal state, then I anneal it. So I can grind it easy, and we can drill holes for the tang and do what we need to do on the cold side of the shop.
So the annealing process, you're going to remove any residual stress that might exist.
Right.
And you're going to make it as soft as it can be.
Yep. And that takes 2 hours at temperature, and then it cools down overnight.
And then temperature-wise, normalizing, you're doing that about,
Above critical.
so 18, 1900?
No, not that much.
Not that hot?
Yeah.
And then,
And then when I anneal, I'm below critical.
somewhere in the 11, 12 range?
A little higher.
A little higher than that?
Yeah. But then, like I said, it cools all night, and then I bring them out the next morning, and we go over to the cold shop. So,
And then, at what point in the grinding process do you harden and temper?
that is after the rough grind.
After the rough grind?
After the rough
Okay.
grind. And after she's drilled all the holes in the handles.
Gotcha.
So we'll go do that right now.
Okay.
Because I've got some forgings over there on the other side.
All right. Grinding station now. This knife blank has been forged, normalized, annealed, and we'll get a good shot of this bird's beak. I think we will. There you go. So that's got to come off.
That's got to come out of there.
Okay. Obviously, that's got to come off. So we're going to start grinding the primary bevels of the knife. 36 grit with a flat platen.
Yep. I've adapted this KMG to run for direct drive.
You sure have.
There's no vibration in this machine at all.
pretty thick.
You'll remove a little more material after heat treat too, right?
Yeah.
Guys, I want you to look at this one feature. A properly executed plunge grind and sharpening choil. I am a happy man. we brought in the shop foreman. Hephaestus, what are you doing, buddy? You gonna say hi to everybody? All right. What's that? What's that?
Be good. You're a good boy. You are a good boy. Yes, you're a good boy.
I think he's taller than you, Lon.
I think he is. He's a big boy. All right, go lie down. Come on.
So that tang was ground on the surface grinder once, but then it was normalized and annealed, probably moved around a little bit.
Yep.
So we're retruing it, sort of.
Yeah, it looks good. It's good enough for now because it's still gonna be hardened.
Huh, look what I found hanging out in the pile.
That's a prototype.
Mm-hmm. This might make it into a slip joint sometime.
There's number one.
There's number one. I remember seeing that at the grind-in.
I use that all the time.
Uh-huh. And it takes a man to open this knife.
Yeah.
Here's Lon laying out the handle profile and hole location with his high-tech CAD system.
Mm-hmm.
What's that software? Is it called Soapstone?
Soapstone.
Right, yeah.
I missed. Right there, on that one.
Gotcha.
Now he's transferring the program into the CNC machine.
Yeah, these are high tech, man.
Cassie's gonna drill some holes. So those first two are for the pins, this for the lanyard.
You're done.
All done. Okay, now we're back from heat treat.
Now it's hardened and it's been tempered, because that also takes about a day to do.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna finish grind it, and then she's gonna build the handle.
So a recent development in your process, you're now stabilizing your own wood,
Yes,
correct?
I am. I'm stabilizing my own wood. I've got curly koa that's stabilized.
There's
And,
a piece of that.
I've got Buckeye burl that I'm stabilizing. I've got Clara walnut as well.
So we were talking a little bit about that process last night.
Yeah.
Tell them what that involves a little bit.
You have to draw a vacuum on it until you get all the air out of the voids in the wood, and that can take days. My vacuum pump runs days at a time.
Wow.
And then once you get all the air out of it, you quit seeing bubbles in the medium that you're stabilizing with. Then you let the vacuum off of it, and you wait for it to equalize. It sucks that juice or the resin into the wood, and then you bake it. So it takes close to a week to do a batch.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then what do you end up with? Why is that worth it?
The cost.
I mean, versus non-stabilized.
Oh, versus non-stabilized, the wood just won't move. At that point, it becomes a piece of wood impregnated plastic.
Right. So over time,
plastic impregnated wood, whichever one.
so your handle's not going to change shape,
Right.
shrink,
It
warp.
shouldn't shrink and it shouldn't pull, but Murphy's Law.
Right.
You always have one or two that will.
And it probably helps the appearance long
It
term.
does.
Also,
It does, and it helps in the finishing end of it too, because you can get a higher luster on the polish, because you're essentially polishing a piece of plastic.
Gotcha.
So, but this is a piece that we've stabilized, and I sourced this koa from a local wood place, Amish owned. Imagine Amish had a piece of Hawaiian wood.
Isn't that something? They are enterprising folks, aren't they?
They are. They are. I love them. All right, so I'm going to finish grind this, and then she can put the handle on it.
So we've changed belts for the finish grind.
Right. This is 120 grit. Went from 36 to 120.
Okay.
That's pretty thin. So that's the extent of my finish grind.
All right, let's see how thin we are behind the edge. Because you know I want to know. Whoops, there we are. What do you think, 35?
Probably. It's a little thick for your taste, I think. I know you like them thin.
Yeah, about 3 thousandths,
Yeah.
Right.
So now it goes back over to Cassie, and she puts the handles on them.
So here's Cassie finishing the front of both sides of the handle. So she's got them together. And you guys remember from grinding videos, you got to finish the front of the handle, because once it's mounted to the knife, you can't really polish it or shape it at all, or you'll mess up the finish of the ricotta. So she's got to get that right before she starts mounting it up. Applying a little compound to the wheel. at that.
Nice.
That is nice.
I mean, I can't believe how wonderful it looks.
I know.
I mean, my
It
gosh.
just comes to life, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this will be the first time I've got some over here that he's going to do. I can't wait to see it all shiny and
So you're going to be finishing your first batch of the coat that you guys have stabilized.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
It is. So now Cassie's assembling this handle. Corby bolts? Yeah. So we got it clamped up. We're going to drill holes in the wood to correspond with the ones in the tang of the knife, using the tang for a template. Drill press for the lanyard hole.
I put them in the holes that I countersunk.
Right. And of course we're all glued up and
All
ready
glued
to
and
assemble.
Ready to go. Lovely glue. Of course, I gotta be careful of that stuff.
Yeah, she's allergic to it.
Oh.
Yeah, as you can see all over my face.
Yeah. Something in that adhesive just breaks her out, tears her
Tears up my
hands
spoon.
up. That stuff that Mike uses, we used to use that. Can't
Yeah.
use it.
Can't use it anymore.
This stuff's bad too, but you know,
not
it's not as bad as that Loctite.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and put my lanyard in. Still got a little bit of burn.
Well, ream it out.
No, I'm talking
Oh.
okay.
So Corby bolts are there,
Corby
lanyard
bolts.
tube is there.
Lanyard too.
You'd be ready to finish off the handle.
Yeah.
And then it takes we gotta let them dry all night.
Right?
Yep.
Sweet. Can't wait to see what that's going to look like.
Oh, I know.
We got one.
Right here.
So here's one that's already glued up,
There's one that's
And-
already glued up,
ready to shape.
ready to go. And we'll do that next.
Okay, we're shaping the handle back to 36 grit.
Yep.
sets it. Take a look. So there it is, the roughed out curly koa handle. You can already see the character starting to come out. So we're moving up in grit to what?
60.
Here's how we look at 60 grit. Now up to 220.
220 grit, yeah. Yeah, I skipped a bunch.
Yep.
Now we're 400.
400. $2,000 grit. Now we're gonna really see this koa come to life.
Now it's ready to buff.
So now we've got the knife at the buffing wheel. So we're using a cloth wheel with what compound, Lon?
It's got a combination of pink and green in there.
Another advantage that stabilized wood, guys, is no need for varnish, shellac, any kind of finishing treatment, no raising grains and resanding. It's the resin that's in the wood becomes the finish along with the buffed surface. Look at that. Look at that.
Looks like it's a 1/4 inch deep.
It sure does. That has lots of chatoyance.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's good looking stuff.
Yep.
I imagine guys might want to buy those.
I think they may.
Oh, wow.
Is that like 220 grit compound?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
240.
240?
Yeah. I love that stuff.
I had never seen sparks come off a buffing wheel until I saw that. There we go. Starting to look like a knife.
Last thing, sharpen it.
Okay, now Cassie's going in and just putting a little chamfer on the inside of the lanyard hole so it doesn't cut your lanyard
Oh, your fingers.
or your finger.
Come over here.
Now she's going to clean any grit, buffing compound out of the lanyard hole. There you go. Beautiful. Now it's time to put an edge on this knife.
Yep. You can tell me what I'm doing wrong.
I'm not going to tell you what you're doing wrong. I believe you're certified.
I got the wire up.
Yep.
Whether you can see that or
Yep. So what grit was that first pass, Lon?
not. 120. Just a second.
So we got a burr?
We have a burr.
We have a burr. Boy, nice. That's a steady hand, my friend. You might have
Get
done.
that when you do it enough.
You might have done a couple of these.
Yeah, only a few.
40.
The secret is a worn out 240.
And if you notice where I am,
You're between the wheel and the platen.
yep,
So you're going to get an ever so slight bit of convex.
right.
At a very low speed.
Yes. I'm running about 13, almost 14% speed-wise, so it's running real slow.
Real slow.
So now I got the wire pulled up on the other side.
Now we go to the buffing wheel. Now it's a knife.
Now it's a knife, and it's sharp.
And a right pretty little thing too.
Now it would go over to her and she'd clean it and box it and ship it.
Boy, that face of that blade just came out beautiful on this knife. So that's kind of start to finish in a Lon Humphrey custom hand forged knife.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm real happy with how that cut off.
That's a beaut. Guys, we have one lonely Reaver camp knife in the shop that I believe is going to be going back home to Indiana.
If I don't screw it up.
It's pretty much done. Just some of the finished grinding and polishing work to be done. Lon's working. Man, what is that? Like a 3/8 radius or so? Like
3/4.
So a 3/4 inch diameter roller for the belt grinder to finish off this fuller. Okay, now Lon's cut down a belt to get into these little radiuses for polishing in the forward finger choil. Some of you guys wonder when I extend sharpening choils and folding knives how I do that. You're kind of looking at it. Time to sharpen the Reaver. Now this one, guys, will not be skinny.
What's that?
This one will not be skinny because we got work to do with this knife.
We'll see.
Into the buffer.
Yep, it's sharp.
It's sharp, tip to hilt.
There you go.
There it is, my friends. Oh, man. Can't hardly get it in the frame, Lon.
I know, it's big.
10 whole inches of blade.
I don't know. I don't think
close.
it's quite 10. It's big though.
It's big. What a beauty.
Yeah, we got a sheath for you too.
Awesome. Video to follow, my
Yeah.
friend.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it.
I know, me too. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed having you at the shop.
Oh, it's been great being here.